department, yes.
Yeah. So are we coordinating? Can we go ahead?
Yes, we are coordinated, Chairperson.
I note Keith's hand. Keith.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, my CFO is on leave, so and my Chief Program Officer is on the road, so I am here alone, Chair. So I just want to that be noted, please. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Just in terms of the agenda, we are here obviously to receive a briefing from the Department of Agriculture and Cathedral on their quarterly performance for the period January to March 2025. And also the Department of Agriculture will be briefing us on the current status of land use management, including the rezoning and the current risk of preserving agricultural land within the province, as well as department's readiness in terms of the implementation of the Preservation and Development of Agricultural Land Act. We also will look at the resolutions and consideration and adoption of the draft committee documents. And also we have items under general. Are there any items that under general that members will to place on the agenda? I see no hands. Thank you. So, honorable members, can I hand over to you to introduce yourself, and then we will then go over to the officials. Thank you. Honorable members, can you hear me?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Greetings, Chairperson. My name is Nomin Kondlo. I'm a member of the committee.
Thank you, Kondlo.
Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Nomin Constable, and I'm a member of this committee.
Thank you.
Bombo, good afternoon, member of the committee.
Thank you. All honorable members have been noted, including honorable vessels. So, honorable members, in terms of the rules of engagement, I am not going to really highlight them, as we all know that there are obviously standard microphones that we've got to keep them muted all the time until you are recognized to speak. If that can be really done, that will be great. Just from the Department of Agriculture, in terms of the attendance list, is Ms. Linda Govender, Acting Head of Department, Dr. Ilse Trautmann, Deputy Director General, Agricultural Research and Regulatory Services, Ms. Ashia Peterson, Acting Deputy Director General, Agricultural Development and Support Services, Ndade Jerry Aris, Acting Chief Director, Agricultural Producer, Support and Development, Mr. Cor van der Walt, Land Use Manager, Ms. Gertrude Jacobs, Director, Agricultural Skills Development, and Ms. Mary Jacobs, Acting Director. From Casidra is Dr. Keith Glute, the Chief Executive Officer. So, honorable members, with that said, we will go straight ahead with the presentation from the department. I hand over to you, Mayor Govender.
Good afternoon, Chairperson and members. Thank you very much for the opportunity to engage you this afternoon. Just to also maybe send an apology for Daryl Jacobs. He is on leave, hence Ms. Asha Peterson then also standing in as acting. She is also unwell, but she will be joining online in a few minutes. Chairperson, we have sent through a presentation just highlighting what we will be presenting to you this afternoon as requested. And as you mentioned, we're going to get straight into it. Ms. Mary James, the Acting Director of Business Planning and Strategy, will be presenting the non-financial performance for Q4, including some feedback on the G4J item. And then Mr. Cor van der Walt will take us through the presentation at the time when it is the opportunity to go through the land use management slides. But we'll start off and I'll hand over to Ms. Mary James.
You can go ahead.
Thank you, Chairperson and HOD. So I'll start with the Q4 non-financial performance indicators as well as the G4J. So as the achievements of the fourth quarter non-financial summary that you can see here, of the 83 indicators, 78 were achieved, 5 not or partially achieved. For Q4, that is a total of 94%. Of the Q4 targets that were not or partially achieved, the 5 items, that is the number of smallholder producers supported. Target was 4 and we only achieved 1. And the reason for this deviation is the delayed transfer payment from National Department of Agriculture to provinces and seasonality of production affecting service delivery to the smallholder producers. The second one is the number of producers supported in the grain commodity. The target was 1, and the reason for deviation is due to the late transfer payment again received by the National Department and seasonality of the agriculture activities on farm. The grain producers could not be supported in this quarter. However, the provision was made to close this gap in other quarters. The third item there, number of farmers days held, there was 5 targets, of which 2 were achieved. And the reason for deviation is farmers days were held based on the production activities on farms. Moving on to the next 2 items, the number of scientific papers published, target was 20, of which 19 were achieved in Q4, and the targets, the reason for deviation, targets were not achieved as 2 senior researchers left the department due to ill health and retirement. Respectively, the capacity to publish was therefore hampered. The second item there is the number of articles and radio broadcast in popular media, and 20 was the target, of which 15 were achieved. And the reason for deviation, this indicator is partially demand-driven, especially radio broadcast. However, the departure of the 2 senior scientists resulted in capacity constraints to deliver on these targets. Looking at the achievements of annual non-financial performance targets, here's the summary of the 83. 81 was achieved and 2 partially or not achieved. A total of 98% was achieved in the year. Of the annual targets that were not achieved, it was specifically the number of scientific papers published. The deviation, as already mentioned, it was because of the 2 senior researchers that had left the department due to ill health and retirement. And the second one being the number of learners completing the vocational program. The target was 55, of which only 53 was achieved. The annual target was not achieved as 2 students chose to discontinue their studies in the second cycle of the learnership program and could not be replaced. Shall I move on to growth for jobs?
Yes, you can proceed, ma'am. And we will take the questions after all the presentations have been completed. Thank you.
Thank you. So the growth for jobs, just a couple of introductory comments. The growth for jobs strategy does not have quarterly targets. However, 75 of the department's indicators are linked to the 7 PFAs as detailed in the APP of 2024-2025. The department achieved 98% of its annual APP targets for the year, and therefore the G4J related activities are on track. The Impact Pulse implementation plan is a tool developed to monitor impact of collective efforts of the G4J departments by using credible data, and it's still to be served at the cabinet. 2 of the senior managers are nominated to coordinate the department's contribution to the G4J implementation plan as well. Here, we're just looking at the links between the G4J PFAs as well as the department's indicators. You'll see that the department has 35, the province 40, and a total of 75. A high-level overview of what success looks like of each of the G4J projects at the department. The Export Office System. It's an end-to-end ICT solution that will support the control, management, and monitoring of all stages of the export process for the export of products mandated under the auspice of the Department of Agriculture Vet Services. The second one being the integrated economics IQ to strengthen the export base, data-led decision-making across the entire ecosystem, including businesses, to position the Western Cape as a leading global export region with a diversified basket of goods and services and sought-after tourism destination known for its quality, reliability, and cost-effective goods and services offering. The third one being to promote the Western Cape agriculture exports in the African continent, new and exciting businesses from the Western Cape supported to access market opportunities so that the Western Cape agricultural sector is positioned in the African continent. The fourth one is to support the Western Cape agricultural sector for improved market access and enabling environment to support the agricultural export from the province to broaden the base of economic activities while at the same time using the impetus to accelerate economic growth. And the last one, the ecological infrastructure or alien clearing, 18,000 hectares of wetlands and water resources cleared of invasive alien plants in multiple river encatchments and 1,100 green jobs created during the 2024-2025 financial year.
Thank you, Chairperson. That is then the end of the Q4 and annual non-financial information as requested, and we're happy to take questions.
Okay. Honorable members, it's just a question. Shouldn't we just allow all the presentation to be completed, especially around the Q4 feedback, and thereafter then we move on to the next presentation? Is that in order? Can I allow Casidra to present? Go forward. Honorable Ngonto.
Supported, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, colleagues. And Tate du Plessis, you can go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I just want to understand, must I flight the presentation from my
presentation? Shireen, can you help?
Dr. du Plessis, you can flight it from your side, please.
Okay, I'll do that. Thank you. Thank you, Chairperson. Let me just put it in presentation mode. See, yeah. So thank you for that, Chair. Can you see the slides, Chairperson? Everybody?
Yes, we can see the slide. Thank you. You can proceed, sir.
Okay, so the next two slides will focus mainly on the targets not achieved, firstly during Q4, the 24-25 financial year, and then also for the entire 24-25. Let's move forward. See, navigate the slides from this slide. So on this slide, it outlines the 8 performance indicators that were not achieved during the Q4 of 24-25. For indicator 1.3.1, although there was no wellness initiatives in the quarter, mainly due to holidays and the shutdown over Christmas, the yearly target of 3 initiatives was however achieved. With regards to indicator 2.2.4, which measures the number of agricultural support services contracted, the remaining contract could not be concluded with Department of Agriculture due to funding in the project budget being not yet depleted. So the use of veterinary services funding is dependent on the need for the service, which in turn influences the speed at which the funds are depleted. So the funds are transferred to Casidra, and at the stage, the funds were not depleted in that particular fund. So obviously this doesn't negatively impact the actual beneficiaries, because obviously they will only tap into the fund when when required. The training of farmers, that's indicator 2.2.5, is driven by the request we receive from the department. So we will facilitate the appointment of the service provider and ancillary services once the department identifies the training need, and also the beneficiaries. So that is purely dependent on the department and the requirements. The annual target for indicator 3.1.3, the number of community and household food security projects implemented from previous financial years has been achieved, despite the lower than expected performance in Q4. So obviously the shutdown again and the focus on completing old cost projects contributed to the underperformance in Q4. With regards to 3.2.1, no new projects were approved by the department in Q4 for CASIDRA to implement. So CASIDRA is dependent on the department to achieve this particular target. Similarly, for indicator 3.2.3, the value of disaster funding assistance for farmers per instruction, CASIDRA is dependent on if and when the department avails funds for disaster assistance. This indicator tracks the amount already spent on disaster funding assistance. So the department did avail 38 million in funding towards the end of Q3. Obviously, so there was not enough time that we could actually spend all that funds within the financial year. Not reaching the target for indicators 4.1.2 and 4.1.3 has had a negative impact on income generated by CASIDRA for the 2024-25 financial year. And that is mainly because no new opportunities were available to pursue in Q4. That is now referring to indicator 4.1.2. While in terms of indicator 4.1.3, the number of completed projects were awaiting the lapsing of the retention period towards the end of the project to allow for sign-off to take place. So the next slide. Chairperson, a lot of what I covered in the previous slide is relevant to this slide as well, which outlines 7 performance indicators that were not achieved during the 24-25 financial year. That is now the annual targets. As mentioned before, indicators number 2.2.4, 2.2.5, 3.2.1, and 3.2.3 are all dependent on factors beyond CASIDRA's control. We have in the meantime updated our indicators for the 25-26 financial year in line with more smart targeting, target setting principles. So the only indicator that I didn't address in the Q4 performance is 3.2.2, the number of projects implemented for Western Cape Department of Agriculture from previous years. So despite the overachievement in Q4 on this target, the annual target was not achieved. This is due to infrastructure works projects still under implementation. All these projects are tracked in collaboration with the Department of Agriculture. So there's no negative impact per se on these projects. To the next slide. In conclusion, Chairperson, CASIDRA achieved 66.7% of its performance targets for 24-25. The primary reason for this low achievement rate is that several indicators fall outside CASIDRA's direct control. And to address this, we have revised our approach for the 25-26 financial year, ensuring that all targets are now within CASIDRA's sphere of influence and not dependent on external factors. We've identified that the targets reported on today did not align with the smart target setting principles, and we've identified this in previous year already. However, we opted not to amend them at the time in order to maintain the continuity within the 5-year reporting cycle. So for the next 5 years, we will update them, Chairperson. Then may I just add, despite all this, and in line with the ministerial priority of agricultural support, we implemented 42 agricultural projects of previous financial years against the target of 40 and facilitated 64 interventions through our unit for technical assistance against a target of 40. In terms of food security and nutrition, CEDRA implemented 4,322 community and household food security projects from previous years against a target of 2,000. The target was exceeded mainly due to a special effort to complete previous year projects. This naturally will have a positive impact on the households and community garden beneficiaries. Furthermore, we implemented 161 community food security projects and 2,933 household food security projects approved for implementation within the 24-25 financial year. This means that in total we assisted more than 7,400 household and community food security projects across the province in 24-25, something obviously that we are extremely proud of. To end of the chairperson, the CEDRA never tracked job creation per se as an indicator. However, going forward and in our 25-26 financial year and over the next 5-year cycle, we will attempt to do so in line with the growth of a jobs strategy. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Ndade Keith. Honourable members, there's the presentation for quarter 4 results of the Department of Agriculture and CACEDRA. I think now we can really engage on the questioning of the presentation. If there are questions, clarity, then we can proceed with the next presentation. Members, by show of hands, please. See Honourable Khalid Brink, welcome. Brink Hayes, welcome. And Honourable Nkondlo Sens. Over to you, Honourable Khalid Brink Hayes.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Yes, and good afternoon to you and to the colleagues. Chairperson, my question shortly is that the food gardens that was put in place, can I have an indication of how many of those food gardens were previously dumping areas throughout Cape Town that was converted into food gardens? Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Brink Hayes. Honourable Nkondlo.
Chair, I've got, I think, about 2 questions to CACEDRA. One related to what Member Brink Hayes is asking about. I think I've seen they are saying they've achieved 7,400 food security. I'm not sure whether food security equals food gardens or something else. And how do you measure food security? If you said you've implemented 7,400 food security projects, what is it in those particular projects or household, if we were to go, would actually be an indicator that this particular household is food secure? The second one is that CACEDRA indicates that they only received money late in Q3 and could not therefore spend the money. I want to understand why is that. Perhaps they could answer themselves and also the department. Is that a normal recurrence, and what exactly are these projects that could not necessarily be funded since or completed since you received the money late? And then to the department itself, Chair, I saw, I think in the slide with tables, they're saying the skills only achieved 75% of its target in Q4. And I would want to understand, since we are now talking about Q4 as the last quarter of the entire financial year, what is the situation of the total of the actual financial year? performance in terms of the skills. Since this one, this particular quarter was 25% short. So I'm interested to understand that. The second one is that I'm struggling to understand this notion that says the department does not have quarterly targets of G4J. But then the department will then tell us how they've contributed, to the high level objectives of the G4J. But I struggle with that because, and I need the department to help me understand when there is a target set and you are contributing to that particular target. Surely there are particular activities that as a department and as different programs, where you actually even draw the very data that makes you as a department now say, we have contributed to this and this and this in the high level G4J. So I'm not understanding this logic that says you don't necessarily have quarterly targets, but you can stand and argue that you have made a contribution to G4J. As an example, there's, I think on slide 12, there's a quantitative target there of 100 green jobs, So I'm not sure if you were to talk about those 100 green jobs, you said you've contributed. How many in the 100 have you contributed? Or how would you say, would you argue have contributed to those jobs? So it's just a very gray and fuzzy area, this notion that you don't have quarterly targets, but then we must take your word, that no, you have contributed, but we cannot track nor see in the different programs what exactly are you responsible for that can actually go and become a contribution to those high-level targets of G4J. Maybe you can explain to me better, as people who are implementing at your level. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, colleagues. From my side, acting HOD, the question relating to the research capacity that you did indicate that you had 2 resignation of senior researchers. Just maybe to update the committee in terms of the number of researchers that you have got and also the replacement plan with regards to those 2 that you have lost. And the second question obviously is what Menkondlo just touched now with regards to the green jobs. How sustainable are those green jobs in terms of really keeping them and ensuring that they are sustainable over a longer period? And the issue of the 35 million rands that was allocated but was not spent. I'll assume that you are sitting with all those budget cuts issues, but I think maybe just to brief us with regards to how this particular delay has affected you and obviously in terms of carrying out other projects in the future. Because obviously, this 35 million, I would assume that historically you were catering a number of projects, and now it means that you have to cut on that. And what plans are there in place to really just make sure that you close that particular gap? Thanks. Over to you, HOD and the CEO and the Keith. Honorable Brinkes, is that legacy hand? Okay, seems to be legacy hands. Over to you, guys. Is the department still here?
Yes, we are. Thank you, Chairperson. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You can proceed.
Thank you, Chairperson. I think firstly, maybe just for clarity, if you will allow me, Member Brinkes, I was not clear whether your question was directed to the department or to CASIDRA. If I can maybe just get clarity on that. But I will maybe continue with the other responses in the meantime. Member Nkondlo asked the question about the specifically the skills, agricultural skills development. maybe just to indicate there that in terms of Q4, they were 100% achieved for the specific quarter. They've achieved 4 out of their 4 targets, and then annually they achieved 75%. And the reason then being is because of 2 of the learners that exited during a quarter, and we could not replace them in time to make up for that shortage. So in all, over the annual period of 24-25, that then resulted in the 75% achievement for the year. Then in terms of the G4J, as we've indicated, in terms of the G4J strategy, they have, or there is impact level targets, if I may call it that, or objectives in terms of what the strategy wants to achieve by 2035. And we have to, as one of the departments for G4J, also make sure that we do things that will impact transversely to ultimately achieve that objective of the 1 trillion target. And we will then also be part of that Impact Pulse implementation plan. We have 2 of our senior officials that has been assigned to specifically coordinate and be part of that monitoring process. And what we've tried to just show is that the majority of our 75 out of our 83 targets were directly linked to the G4J PFAs. And maybe just to use the green jobs as an example, so the number of green jobs created is a specific APP indicator of Program 2, and we do report, we have a quarterly target for that indicator, which in the case of Q4, just as an example, we had a target of 100, and then we have achieved 265 for that quarter. So we have that reporting on our own indicators with a direct link to G4J, and that's how we make sure that what we do in our normal operations takes place as planned, and that ultimately will have the impact or the desired impact on the G4J strategy by the end of 2035. I hope that answers the question in terms of a little example. On terms of the question on the 35 million or 38 million transfer to Casidra, yes, it was only done in the Q3. I'm not sure if our colleague Asha has been able to join. I don't see her name yet. Is she there? Okay, great. Oh, thank you, Asha. But she can also come in, but there are specific, this is an allocation we did have in the year 24-25. And of course, there's various processes that we go through in terms of the compliances to make sure we have agreements in place. And that does sometimes result in the monies transferring a bit later in the year. But I'll also give Asha, through you, Chair, an opportunity to respond to that specific transfer. And I know Casidra will also come in terms of the implications. If I can just move then to the question you had, Chairperson, on the research capacity, I will ask my colleague Ilse, Dr. Troutman, to just come in terms of our total capacity there. But in terms of the 2 vacancies that we've reflected as a cause of deviation or the exits of our 2 officials, we have already appointed a new person in one of the vacancies. We are actually in process of a second appointment as well. The recruitment process has just taken a bit longer because I think it's now our 3rd attempt. We are struggling a bit to get that second post filled, but it is in process, and we are actively trying to fill that post. Chairperson, if I may, can I then perhaps just hand over to firstly Ms. Asha Peterson to come in on the transfer of the 38 million in Q3, and then after that, Dr. Troutman on the research side.
Thank you. Yeah, you can definitely hand over to the colleagues to present. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and members. The 38 million that was transferred was for the river protection works. And because it requires various environmental authorizations and identifying specific projects that needs to be, that will be constructed, that river protection 38 million was transferred to Casidra. Thank you. I'm not sure whether I should expand any more on that one.
Can I ask Dr. Troutman to come in, please?
Yes.
Good afternoon, Chairperson and committee members. Sorry if I'm not particularly well audible. I'm sitting in Saldanha at a workshop with my veterinary team. We've got 26 researchers. We have replaced Dr. Ansie Scholz's position with Dr. Pieter Tron. Professor Robin Meeske's post, we were not successful in finding a dairy scientist. We're advertising now for the third time. And then Professor Tas Brandt also retired in April, actually in March. And his post will be divided into 2 scientists to build capacity in animal breeding and feeding. Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you, HOD.
Thank you very much, colleagues. Honorable members, those are the answers from the questions that you have asked. And really, thank you very much. Are there any follow-up questions? Dr. Keith, you coming in for your questions? Okay,
Yes, sorry. Thank you, Chair. Sir, I think we didn't answer Honorable Brinkhuis in terms of food gardens in previously identified dumping areas. Honorable Brinkhuis, I will have to come back to you. I think we've done 3, but I must just check whether it was in this financial year or in the previous financial year. So I know we did one in Kailicha and one in Mitchell's Plain. So I just want to get the proper information, and then I will share it with you if the chair allows. And then also in terms of the 38 million. Yes, we do sign when we do a business plan on the project with the department, and then some of these projects then are implemented over multiple years, and that is part of the transfer payment agreement that we then do sign with the department. So some of these projects do implement over multiple years, and obviously because the works are some of these works are quite extensive and labor intensive, and also fairly technical in nature. Some of these projects obviously do span more than one financial year. So I hope that answer. And then there was also a question by Honorable Nkondlo about how do we measure food security, the success of which. And I know the department is doing, they are doing an independent study on I think every 3 or 4 years, and there they then measure the actual success rate of these projects. But in a nutshell, we look at the availability of food for the beneficiaries, actually access for the beneficiary, that they have access to food, and then obviously whether there's utilization of these food gardens after we've actually provided them with inputs and materials. So that is measured by the department externally every 2 or 3 years, and I think they can maybe confirm that. But so we do look at it in the longer term. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Keith. Honorable members, I give you an opportunity for next round of question. I see Honorable Nkondlo's hand. You can go ahead, ma'am.
Chair, I'm not sure it's me. Did I miss Cassandra answering my question?
Keith, I did lose signal a bit. I do not know if he did cover.
Oh, sorry. I referred to the food security projects in terms of the success. Right? If are we referring to that, Honorable Nkondlo?
I inquired that in the projects that you're saying you are implementing, there are food security. What exactly is food security? If you can explain to me, if I were to visit those 7,400 projects, what is a food security in simple layman's terms?
Thank you for the question, Chair. Yeah, so we look at whether the beneficiary, there's availability. So is there physically, obviously the physical presence of food production. Then we also look at access. So whether the beneficiary has got access to food after we've supplied inputs and training. Then we look at utilization. Are they constantly using this materials and inputs to assist themselves in actually harvesting food? So in our sense, we are looking at providing the basics for a beneficiary to actually have the ability to produce food for themselves at a subsistence level. So I don't know if that answers your questions. And what they also said is that the department comes by and they measure the effectiveness of these programs on I think every 2 or 3 years they come and they measure the actual by using an external service provider to look at whether there's real impact being made in these areas.
Honorable Ngondlo, are you covered with that answer?
Chair, I'm partially covered, and perhaps if Casidra does have in the previous, maybe their latest external evaluation report that they could share, perhaps it would shed much more light, to my question. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Casidra, I think at the moment you've got 2 resolutions. One that was relating to the question of Honorable Brenkes, and the second one being this one of Honorable Ngondlo. Honorable members, if there are no follow-up questions, I hand over back to HOD May Govender to take us through the presentation. Over to you, Acting HOD.
Thank you very much, Chair. I will hand over to Mr. Cor van der Walt, who will take you through the presentation. Thank you, Chair.
Good afternoon, all. I need to report on the status of land use management, and the request was to reflect on the current status of the land use management, the current risk in preserving agriculture land. The third one was the contributing factors that may have emanated from the municipal summit, and the fourth one is the department's readiness for the implementation of the new Preservation and Development of Agricultural Land Act. So the current status, myself as land use managers responsible for commenting on all the change of land use applications for the province. The sub-program represent the department on various steering committees and working groups. And that's basically the spatial development frameworks, mining, and national resource working groups. Then we have to attend to all the land use related meetings and site visits. Then there's the drafting of technical and scientific letters as an answer to the applications, and then the administration of the sub-program. Currently, there's one administration clerk responsible for filing in the registry of applications, communication to all the spheres of government and applicants, and very important to keep the applications and files in an orderly manner. And assisting currently is one graduate intern, also busy with a master's degree in science, environmental science and management. Just a general background, it's basically demand driven. We don't know when and what kind of applications we will receive. It can be complex, there's a variety, and I can list the varieties, basically EIAs consisting of renewable energy, mining, construction of dams and conservation works, agri-processing establishments. Then subdivision consolidation applications, uses and habitation, servitudes, rezoning applications where you rezone land out of agriculture for additional or non-agricultural uses. Consent uses is mainly applications that is compatible with agriculture zones. And then basically water transfers, irrigation water, and general inquiries of processes, what to do, how to interpret, etc. Then the normal is the debate and motivate, defend our mandates, norms and decisions. That is, it's an ongoing engagement with applicants. And then we have lots of meetings virtually and on site. And the loss of agricultural land is very difficult to say, as we are not a decision maker, but only a commenting authority. The current status in terms of mandating goals, it's coming from the National Department under the Subdivision of Agricultural Land Act. And the purpose is enhancing the sustainable management and efficient use of natural agricultural resources. Then provincial goals is mainstreaming sustainability and optimizing resource efficiency. Ensuring sustainable management of natural resources, provide the basis for commenting on applications for subdivision and rezoning. So this mandate is also entrusted to the land use management. So that was the national goals previously, to protect. We are not a deciding-making authority, but we are supporting the decision makers, the municipalities and Department of Agriculture on national level, considering the Conservation of Agricultural Resources Act, National Environmental Act, Subdivision of Agricultural Land Act, the Water Act, Western Cape Land Use Planning Act, then taking into consideration the municipal bylaws, Spatial Planning and Land Use Management Act, and the rural guidelines for the Western Cape. Then if we go to the risk, we say that we have a reactive approach because we don't know what kind of applications are coming. And the complexity of these can vary significantly, and the volume of work as well. That means that there's sometimes a slow turnaround time, depending on what we deal with in terms of complexity of volume. We try to engage in a better way to get access to water registration and owner information, but due to the POPI Act, that's proven to be a bit difficult. Then there's sometimes we struggle with assessment due to limited time, as the turnaround times are sometimes strict, depending on what type of application. Then, just to give you a background on the type of subject matters that we deal with in the application, is soil and land capability, different crops and the water requirements, the understanding the economics of the specifics of the application. Then there's legislation interpretations that needs to be adhered to. Based on the previous that I showed, all that legislation that's applicable. And there are various policies and legislations to be taken into account. And I'll come back to the outdated provincial norms and standards. There's a reason for that. Risk in preserving agricultural land is that we are a bit constrained in terms of capacity, and it needs to be suitably qualified for the various subject matters. Practical experience is key. We have advertised some posts in the past, but due to the entry level, we're struggling a bit to retain candidates. Then the current structure is under an OD process, and hopefully that will bring some relief in terms of capacity. Then in terms of salary and progress, currently there's also no provision made for specialists, but hopefully that will change in future. Then the other risk is that the decision makers, being Department of National Agriculture and municipalities, have different takes on what we comment on, and they may not agree with our comments and may choose a different outcome for the application. And then another thing is, due to the varied subject matters, there's not always adequate time and people to soundboard your thinking and your line and to distinguish if you are on the correct track or not. Then there's an inconsistency with the alignment of national decisions because national have different norms than the provinces, but that is quite normal because provinces may have their own norms according to Act 70. Then contributing factors that may have emanated from the municipal summit. The summit in June 2023 was not to discuss land use management matters, so there's no specific points related to land use management at the summit. So then the Western Cape Readiness for Implementation of the Preservation of Agriculture Land Act, and that is a long-awaited act, and we are not ready at all, and that's not a lack on the province's side. It's due to processes. The bill was signed this year in February. There's no regulations yet to dictate what the capacity should be, the skills requirements, the expertise, how many people, what, because there will be some decision-making factors delegated to provinces. We don't know exactly what and when that will be ready, because that would be part of the regulations that still need to be drafted at national level. After that, we can only think of implementing the portions of or sections of the Act that needs provincial decision-making. And after that, the provinces can draft their own regulations as delegated by the national department. So there's lots of uncertainties and the exact implication of what the regulations and processes will bring. But until then, we cannot really plan for implementing this. And the risk in terms of that is incomplete regulations and norms from the national department due to limited timeframes before SALA was repealed. SALA, in fact, has not been repealed. It should have been, but due to the lack of the regulations, it hasn't. The delegated decision-making powers to provinces cannot happen before these regulations are in place, and we are not capacitated in terms of a structure. Then there's the pressures on agriculture land. These numbers are not 100%. It is more or less estimate on people that want to try and develop agricultural land for other uses and what is taken up in the spatial development frameworks of municipalities. That is the latest figures in the municipal areas. It's only the hotspots that I try to show here for the 5 years in terms of the spatial development framework timeframe. There's estimated that City of Cape Town would require another 400 hectares. Stellenbosch to Drakenstein included one portion of land of 1,600 rand in the urban edge. George estimated 200, Mossel Bay 200. So we can see there's quite a pressure on basic agriculture land in the region of 3 to 3,500. And then a rough estimate is that after that, there are people talking long-term land banking, and that is what we think might be the pressure into, let's say, the next 10 years between 3 and 5,000 hectares of agricultural land loss. And that doesn't include renewable energy developments, sand mines, just minerals, mining for minerals. We see many of applications in terms of EIA. And just a footnote, the 1,600 hectare agriculture land in the Drakenstein SDF, that is a concern. And just some general pressures, just to give you a picture. The area in white line is, the thick white line is cultivated vegetable land that's been included in this City of Cape Town SDF for development, industrial and residential. There's a new trend emerging of agrivoltaics to farm beneath. There are still many concerns about the effective use of the land below that. That's just a picture of how it can look. There's issues about the practicality, can tractors and equipment move under these stuff? Would it improve production or not? Because of the shade effect and less rainfall or scattered and erosion issues with runoff water. Then there's, if everyone wants to repeat this, how would the landscape look? And then there's competing rights, because there's lots of income on this solar. So the farmers might choose to not farm anymore. So a lease of this land can bring basically more income than the farming can without risk. And that can spark a speculation on agriculture land, because agriculture land per definition is cheap land. Oops, sorry. Then another trend is electrical vehicle charging stations. That the white circle is uncultivated agriculture land on the picture, where there's an irrigation system. So these types of development is basically a permanent loss of agriculture land, and there should be a very good synergy between where this land is used and what kind of land, and that can also create competing rights for agriculture. In fact, we suggest that this is within existing nodes to strengthen the current business area of a town and not compete with agriculture land. Electric vehicle change, this is a zoom in area where you can see the small footprint is just the beginning for the base, and then it can expand up. That is about 1 hectare size, but ideally they want to move to 18 to 20 hectares. So that would take up the entire irrigation pivot. So we cannot afford, if this is placed randomly in the landscape, we need to have opportunity to comment on these kind of applications. In conclusion, productive agriculture land is under pressure due to the quest for all the other users. We have mentioned a lot of them. We are a bit in terms of capacity and the organogram, our structure, we have lots of decision making opportunities or influence decisions, and we really need to be capacitated to cover for all this complexity in the applications. The National Department of Agriculture has not developed the regulations and norms to give effect to the implementation of the new Preservation and Development of Agriculture Land Act. And then the readiness of the Western Cape, we are not able to implement the functions that would be delegated to provinces, as we are not ready to, there's no information to be prepared on that. And until then, there needs to be a budget, etc. So we will wait for the regulations from National Department. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. That is the end of the presentation.
Thank you very much. Was it Mr. van der Walt who presented?
That's correct.
Mr. van der Walt, really thank you very much. Honorable members, there's the presentation with regards to land use management. I just want to maybe, while members are putting their questions together, just to highlight, some of the advantage that we have got with the preservation and development of agricultural land, is that it also mandates the province to develop provincial agriculture sector plan to guide land use and management within each province. But I think what is really very important is that we had the engagement with the stakeholders in agriculture who raised a concern that they are seeing a lot of mining prospectors coming to their area, and obviously when they start doing their work, court challenges obviously come in from farmers, which is costing them lots of money, which they really feel that there is a need for agency to really assist them in terms of ensuring that they do not get involved in court cases on these matters, because they are already challenged with their cash flow, but still they have to fight these court cases. I think really my question to the department, to you acting HOD, is that how many of those complaints have you received from the farmers? And if you have received, have you had engagement with National to start really agitating to ask them to really move faster with regards to regulation, so that these problems are not really going to affect our farmers, because we definitely need call it provincial agriculture sector plan, so that we can protect whatever the limited agricultural land that we have got in the province, because that's primarily why this act was passed. Yes, the SALA Act is still intact, it's not being repealed, but I think once we have got regulations, we will then probably have the SALA Act being repealed and get this to operation. But maybe the second question is, have you as the department went through the bill? Are you comfortable that in the manner that it is able to really assist with the problems that you have raised, like the issue of saying that, National and province, sometimes they don't really talk one language, there are problems there. Are you sure that this bill is good enough to really support you in terms of addressing those kind of issues? Thank you. That's from my side. I see the hand of Honorable Constable. Are there any other hands to recognize before I hand over to the Honorable Constable? Going once, going twice, no other hand. Over to you, Honorable Constable.
Chair, thank you very much, and thank you for the presentation. Chair, mine is based with regards to the rezoning applications. I heard the administration is talking about the provincial land as well as municipal land and the support that they are giving also to municipalities. In the presentation, they mentioned that there's a slow turnaround time when it comes to these applications. My question then is, what time frame are we giving ourselves to make sure that the application goes through, and what support do we give to municipalities to streamline the process with regards to applications and documentation submit to them? And do we have then a kind of monitoring tool, whether it is to national or back to the municipalities that we check, an evaluation tool that we check where the process is and where the process is stuck? Do we have people looking into that so that we monitor the process? The reason for my question is most of these applications take so long, and it really hamper development, especially in rural areas like your Beaufort West area. There's a mining project now, and there's a process of rezoning. So how long does that take? Then linked to that, Chair, does the department have a standard operating procedure that they can outline to us, maybe not now, but send through to us so that we can understand how the process unfolds when they receive an application? What is the process that they take, and who are the people involved? Maybe not the people by name, but who are the departments or the sub-departments involved with regard to the approval of that kind of applications? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Constable. I see the hand of Honorable Ngondlo.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the presentation. The first one, Chair, is just on the internal capacity in the department, that with the role of commenting. And as indicated, that you are talking about a 3-member, actually 2, because the other one is an intern. What is the discussion within the department to try and deal with the HR capacity in the department, on this particular function? Is there a plan, to help, for this unit to be able to deal with the workload? And I want to know, in this financial year and in the past financial year, do you know how many of these land use applications you had to deal with, and whether were you able to respond and give your comment in all of them, or you have been able to only give commentary to some? I'm interested in that. And what are the type of issues that you would have raised in those that you would have commented in? I see a variety, I think, as it has been explained in one of the slides, which actually drives me to the question that says, who triggers these? Is it the department? Is it private sector? Is it individuals? Who actually triggers land use and what is the public involvement, you know, in the process of land use. Those are just my because I just want to understand, you know, how the process works at this point, you know, Chair, let alone just understanding what exactly is the detail. Because I think Minister Mayer has been raising this, and actually, which is something that I support, you know, would declare its position, you know, of fighting for agricultural land, especially in the context of food security problems that we are seeing in the country, you know. And now I'm wondering from the department side, you know, when you consider the different reasons at which, you know, land use management and land use applications, especially those that are affecting agricultural land, you know, the extent to which they are shrinking the very platform in terms of land availability, you know, required for food production, you know, and perhaps you can comment on such, whether is there a concern when you consider the land, the land use applications that you had to comment in. Are you worried, you know, that there is a movement, you know, away, you know, from availability of land for food production into other economic activities? Is it something that is worrying? Is it something that is real? Or from where you are sitting, that is not a major issue? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, honourable members. Welcome, Honourable Bryant. I know that you said you're going to be a little bit late. Over to you, Acting HOD.
Thank you very much, Chairperson and members, for your questions. I will also refer some of them to Mr. van der Walt and also Ms. Peterson that's online. Maybe just to firstly on Member Constable's request, whether we can outline a process in terms of when we receive applications and so forth, we definitely can make that available, even in writing if you so wish. So there is an existing SOP in place. And just in terms of capacity, and Ms. Peterson and Cor can also come in, the program 2 has gone through a organizational development process, which is still in progress. A lot of work has already been done in that regard, just to look at the configuration of that structure for the program, for the reason also to create more efficiencies, but also to look at what is actually required in terms of capacity for the mandate that they have as a program. So we are hoping that that will give us more clarity and direction in terms of how we should structure ourselves. That will definitely make our lives and the work we have to do easier. And then, of course, it comes down to funding as well. We will have to see how we prioritize making funds available to obviously fill then, if there's critical vacancies, to fill those. We are also currently in the department, we do have a process where there's critical vacancies that exist. We do follow a rigorous process to consider those internally and then make funds available as best we can to fill those positions. So that is a continuous process to try and alleviate the pressures within the program and in the department. But I'll then hand over to Ms. Peterson first to come in on some of the questions she wants to answer, and then after that, Mr. van der Walt. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. van der Walt. And Ms. Peterson.
Thank you, Chair. With regards to capacity, like the acting HOD was saying, that we are going through an organizational development process. We are in the final stages of it, where we've done job descriptions and looked at the new outline. One of the big things that we've also looked at is decentralizing lots of the comments so that it's not all taking place within Elsenburg, that we have the districts making comments specifically on EIA applications, and at the same time National has also developed the SOP, which is at the stage we haven't received a standard, a signed copy of the SOP, where they require all applications to go via the national office and then to the province. And in that way, it will significantly reduce the number of engagements we have directly with consultants. But one of the major risks there is the bottleneck and the administrative capacity that is at national to process and fast track those applications. But yes, it is a challenge, the capacity for us. And one of the things is that the policies and the strategies within this space is continuously changing and being updated. And unfortunately, our organogram hasn't necessarily done exactly the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Aisha. Over to you, Mr. van der Walt.
Thank you, Chair. The first is the complaints from farmers, and I think it has to do with, if I understood correctly, the change in land use for mining applications, and the number, or any change of land use for that matter. The number of complaints we don't take or record and say we have 10 applications that people are unhappy with. At this stage, because we're commenting authorities, they can raise their opinions and we can elevate that to the decision makers, but that is the decision makers to really take that into consideration. We take note of that and we advise accordingly, but in effect, we don't count them, so it's difficult to say how many people are unhappy. In terms of the implementation of the Preservation and Development of Agricultural Land Act, if we must just say between good and bad, I think it's a good act coming into place. We were part of the drafting and all the workshops. We provincially gave many inputs. Being a national legislation, there is obviously legislation or sections in the Act where they refer to a national approach, which is not specifically applicable in a province like we are the winter rainfall and the rest of the country summer rainfall. So, and that's where the opportunity comes in for the provincial regulations to adhere to and manage that hopefully more properly. Then in terms, then there was from Mr. Constable a few questions with regard to rezoning and the support and advice. Yes, the pressures on agricultural land is enormous because the Western Cape, due to migration and all that, is now the hotspot. So we see many business people relocating to the Western Cape, looking for industrial type developments, where that obviously come residential, where that comes schools and clinics and extra roads. So yes, the pressure is mounting. And I might repeat myself, agriculture cannot outcompete the kind of income generated with this development, and farmers are getting older and the profits are getting less. So if somebody comes with a good proposition, they might go for that, and that puts further pressure on agriculture land. In terms of the time frames, we gave ourselves a 60-day turnaround time because of the current way in terms of the SOP, filing, responding, taking your time, need to consult with outside stakeholders as well, which include then the Department of Environmental Affairs Development Planning, both sides, environment and development, with the municipalities, Cape Nature, Water Users Association. So depending on the type of application, you might consult wide to get a proper feedback and apply your mind on that. In terms of the streamlining with the other decision makers, we have regular contact in terms of if somebody wants to apply for something, we arrange a pre-application meeting where all the role players are involved, municipalities, DP, etc., where the applicant can present the application and we can discuss processes and the risk involved and try to streamline documentation where they don't need to give in different types of documents for the same application. So that advice we give as part of authorities meeting, and there is minutes being held for that, and that you can refer back to. Then, in terms we covered the SOP. Right. The next is the internal capacity. Ms. Asha Peterson explained some of that. We are in the process of advertising two positions, and hopefully that would be filled within this year. We are waiting the organizational design outcome. Then in terms of how many applications we deal with and the variety and complexity, that is why we deal with the other role players to understand and learn from them and for them to advise so that we can properly apply our minds before making a decision. And who triggers the land use application? It's mostly developers, because there's lots of money to be made in developing greenfields. I think food production in terms of Padala would be better served because the National Department embarked on a land capability study which demarcates protected agriculture land. For that purpose is defined in the Act, and one of the first and main goals of the Act. And going forward, that will tie in well with the provincial sector plans to preserve agriculture land and also serve as a document for the municipalities to consider while they develop their spatial development frameworks. Sorry, Chair, I think it's all that I wrote down. I don't know if it's something that I missed.
Thank you, Mr. van der Walt. I think you covered that you are not really the direct line of complaint from the sector. You are just the commenting authority. And maybe what you could share with us is that who are, when these farmers are complaining, where do they go first and how do you advise them to complain? I think that will help. And you did indicate that you're not keeping stats. We acknowledge that. And thank you for indicating that you believe that PDAL is obviously going to protect food security. Is an important act. But if you can comment on who is the direct line for complaints for farmers in the future.
Yes, Chair, thank you. When we receive complaints, obviously you first need to understand what context it is and what process, because there's so many different legislations and people involved. So then we would direct them to the specific person in environmental affairs and development planning, being illegal transgression or a pre-application or a land use type of application. To the specific municipalities involved, either also the environmental side or planning side, and the same goes with our relationship with Water Affairs and Cape Nature. And we keep regular meetings with the municipalities and discuss policies and their bylaws to understand which and keep a good network relationship going for ease of doing business.
Okay, no, thank you. I think you have clarified. So, honorable members, so complaints from farmers, they will first be taken up with the environmental affairs or the municipalities where farmers are operating, and obviously the Department of Agriculture becomes a commenting authority in terms of those particular complaints. Are there any other questions that might have not been covered? Honorable Ngondlo, I see your hand.
Chair, I was not answered on what public participation involvement is found in this process of land use applications. The second one is that if maybe the department can just clarify, I'm not understanding why you would not have stats of your own of the applications that you as a department you have commented on. I'm not asking the applications that come through because you are just commenting. I'm asking the ones that you as a department has commented on. I'm sure you should have that information because they come to you. You make the comments. You can say that we received in the last financial year, we did about 10 applications, you know. In this financial year, we did about 2. I think maybe to clarify, I'm asking not for you to account of all the applications that gets to be received for land use. I'm asking the ones that you have commented on as the Department of Agriculture. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Ngondlo. Over to you, HOD and Mr. van der Walt.
Thank you, Chairperson. So yes, maybe just to clarify, apologies if we were not clear. So as Mr. van der Walt explained, we don't keep record or track of the complaints that we've received or may have dealt with, but we do definitely keep track of the number of applications that we've dealt with and commented on. That is also part of our performance indicators, so we can definitely provide that for the current and previous year as Member Nkondlo requested, if that could be given after the meeting. Chairperson, we'll appreciate that. I'll hand over to Mr. van der Walt just on the last one that we haven't addressed yet.
Thank you. In terms of the public participation, as we are not the administrators of any act, we do not do public participation in terms of municipal bylaws. That's their responsibility. The same is for environmental kind of applications and consent uses. There's a process described in that different legislations of what needs to be done, and that's administered by that specific decision makers. In terms of the Subdivision of Agriculture Land Act being a very old act, there is not provision made for public participation. However, we do consultation where we think it is necessary as an added bonus on that. But agriculture nationally does not follow a public participation process as it stands now, but in the new act, it is prescribed to do a public participation.
Thank you, Chair. I think we've covered all the questions.
Okay. No, thanks very much, HOD, and thank you, Mr. van der Walt and Mayor Asia. Are there any follow-up questions, honorable members, or can we release the department? There don't seem to be any hand. So really, once again, HOD, acting HOD, really thank you very much. CEO of CASIDRA, thank you very much. And you are excused. We are going to be going through our reports, adoption of the reports, and then we will do the resolutions thereafter. Thank you very much. HOD, do you want to make a closing remark maybe before you leave?
No, thank you, Chairperson. Just to say thank you to the committee, and we wish you a great day further. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable members.
Yes.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the consideration and adoption of draft committee reports and documents and minutes as well. I think we've got about 4 minutes to adopt and the reports. Shireen, can I hand over to you to just fly to the minutes?
Yes, Chair, I'll do so in a second.
Okay,
Chair,
honorable members.
Okay.
I see. Just a second. Honorable members, there is the minutes for the 22nd. Can I have a proposer for adoption of the minutes? This relates to our engagements that we have had with the sector at CASIDRA, where we deliberated and we made certain resolution that we will request the department, amongst others, to brief us on the veterinary bill, and also that we will obviously ask the department to provide us with their support as far as South African pork producers is concerned, and also, measures in place of biosecurity as well as associated budget. Honorable members, do I have a proposer? Honorable Mbombo, thank you for proposing that we adopt the minutes.
Proposal.
Thank you. Any seconder? Honorable Brandt is seconding. Thank you. The minutes has been adopted. You can fly the next minutes. The next minutes of the 20th May 2025. Can I have a proposer that we adopt this minutes? I take it that the minutes were read. I have Honorable Constable proposing. Do I have Honorable Brandt seconding? Thank you, Honorable Brandt. The next minutes, members, is for the 4th of June 2025. Can I have a proposer of the minutes? This was the appropriation. Honorable Mbombo, thank you very much for proposing that we adopt this minutes. Seconder, Honorable Brandt, thank you very much. Honorable members, the next minutes was the meeting held on the 4th at 11 o'clock. It was a visual meeting where we engaged on the appropriation bill. Do I have the proposer to adopt the minutes? Proposer, Honorable Constable, thank you. Seconder, Honorable Brian, thank you very much. Are we done, Shireen?
No, Chairperson, we're moving to the reports now.
We move into the reports. Yeah, that's what I wanted to check. Yeah.
Sure. There's just a lot of documents to scroll through here at the moment.
Honorable members, there are two reports, which are the agri-stakeholder engagement. I take it that honorable members did go through those reports. The other one is Growth Constantia and Westcrow, which took place on the 25th, and the agri-stakeholders engagement took place on the 22nd, where we have engaged with the industry and got the insight around the happening in the industry. Can I have a proposer for the report of the 22nd? Honorable Constable, thank you very much. Seconder? Honorable Brian, thank you very much. And the next one is the report of the 25th, where we visited Westcrow. We visited Constantia, and Westcrow joined us. There were a number of apologies. It was myself, Gillian Bosman, Honorable Brandt, and Honorable Ngondlo who were present on this particular visit. Can I have a proposer and a seconder? Honorable Brandt, thank you very much. Can I have a seconder for the adoption of the minutes?
A second, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ngondlo. Next, colleagues, is the quarterly report, January to March 2025. Can you scroll down? Shireen?
Chair, Windows is not responding at the moment. Let me just try again.
Okay.
Are you able to see the report, Chair?
Yes, I'm able
Okay.
to see. Just scroll down. Obviously, the first page talks about the mandate and obviously the chairperson overview. We have had obviously a number of committee meetings, as you can see listed. Please, honorable members, go through the reports where you might have not been ticked present. Please ensure that you ask Shireen to correct that. That's the report for the quarter. Honorable members, can I have a hand to propose that we adopt this report? But all I just want to urge is that members must just make sure that they are reflected as present where they were present, instead of finding themselves being absent while they were present at those engagements. Thank you very much. Can I have a proposer? Thank you, Honorable Constable. A seconder? Please. Thank you, Honorable Bryant. The report is adopted. Now we on to the last one, members, and then we will then go to resolutions, and then the meeting will be adjourned. Sharon, you might have to just assist with this annual activity report.
Yeah, it's the committee's annual activity report, which is basically the 4 quarters that was reported on, and the committee adopted those reports previously. So it's basically what the committee did for the year, the 2024-2025 financial year.
Okay. No, thank you very much. Honorable members, can I have a proposal? Honorable Mbombo, thank you very much.
Chair, just also my surname to be spelled correctly, please. I propose, but also my surname to be spelled correctly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Mbombo. We'll correct that. Oh yeah, Mbombo.
My apologies, member.
Can I have a seconder? I don't have the seconder. Do we have a seconder? Honorable Constable. Thank you very much, Honorable Constable. Members, can we now proceed with the resolution from this meeting? Oh, there's a tracking document that we need to look at. And
no, we need to adopt this as well, Chair.
Sorry?
We need to adopt the tracking document as well.
Yeah, no, I almost missed them. Sorry, apologies.
No problem.
Okay, you can take us through tracking document and the business plan. Thank you.
Chair, there's 44 pages here to go through. I have distributed this document to members. And what I did was I've extracted all the unresolved issues and put it into a separate document. But for the purposes of adoption and for auditing purposes, we need to complete the, we need to look at the document in its entirety. So I've highlighted in green just the outstanding resolutions from the Department of Agriculture, and in blue, the outstanding resolutions from the Department of Economic Development and Tourism. The rest of the items have all been dealt with and is now complete. So I don't know if you just want me to go through page by page, because that's going to take very long, Chair.
It's going to take very long. Honorable members, is that fine that you get the gist as to how to go through the document? If there are issues, you are really welcome to engage us. Honorable Constable, are you proposing to adopt the report?
Proposing, Chair.
Thank you very much. A seconder? I saw Honorable Brian's hand was thumbs up. Okay, so I see Honorable Brian seconding the report. Thank you. And then the last one is the
business plan, Chairperson.
The business plan, yes. Okay, if you can just take us maybe straight to the budget.
The budget for this year, Chairperson, is 186,000 Rand. So this document, pardon, this document just contains all the meetings that were had from the beginning of the financial year, and then tentative meetings to be programmed until the end of this calendar year.
Now, how are we looking in terms of the budget?
Chairperson, to date, the only expenditure was the catering on the 22nd of April at the Casidra offices, which you can see there. That was the actual expenditure.
Okay. No, thanks. I think we still have got enough budget, honorable members. Really, thank you very much. Honorable Ngondlo, you want to raise a point, or do you propose that we adopt?
Okay, no, Chair, I wanted to check, man, what happened to the discussion we're having on the study. I remember that the matter was still with research. It came back, and I think I just wanted an update on that, because I thought it will feature either in the business plan or in the tracking document.
Yeah, just earlier today, the speaker indicated that he's working on the request or the proposal for international study group, but he will be updating us pretty soon. So there is work in progress. And I did check with Shireen if she received anything. She did not receive anything as yet, but it's work in progress. The speaker did indicate that he's working on the visit as such. Yeah. Honorable Ngondlo?
No, thank you, Chair.
So are you proposing that we adopt the report?
Yes, we can adopt the report, Chair.
Thank you very much. Proposer, Honorable Ngondlo, and seconder? I have got Mr. Constable proposing, seconding that we adopt the report. Thank you very much. Honorable members, now we move to the resolutions. There are two resolutions that I have noted during our discussion. Shireen, have you captured them, or are there other resolutions that you have picked up along the way?
Chair, I think the two that you are referring to is the one around the food gardens. The number of food gardens that were previously identified as dumping areas and have now converted.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second one is the latest evaluation, the external evaluation reports of the food gardens, the food security projects. And then Member Constable's proposed resolution around the SOP, which outlining the land use application process. And then the last one that I have is the number of land use applications that the department commented on during the current and previous financial year.
Okay, I think those are the resolutions. Are there additional resolutions, members, that you want to propose? Honorable Constable, are you covered?
Chair, I'm covered with the last resolution that Shireen mentioned, with regard to the number of applications.
No, thank you. Honorable members, really thank you very much. We came to the end of the meeting. Thank you very much. So we'll see each other tomorrow in the House.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members. Bye-bye.
Bye.